It's that time of the night. It's getting real lonely outside. It's about to be 2 a.m. We starting a late one tonight, bro. Typically it's been a little bit earlier sessions, but tonight I wanted to just let y'all enjoy yourselves, get you a cold one. You know, it's that time of the year, you know, where you get to see who your top shouty, you know. It's Valentine's Day. Well, I guess it was Valentine's Day a couple hours ago. So I hope you get to spend your time with your top shouty, your top baddie, you know. It's a hard time of the year for the players, you know, for the real pimpins. The real Scotty Pimpins out here, bro. The motherfuckers that are slinging dick, you know, that are out here, you know, in these streets. It's hard because you can't choose. You kind of just have to just sit back and just let it just play out. Because, you know, if you pick one over the other, the bitch just gonna be mad, so you just kind of have to play it by ear. So I hope you got to spend it with your top shouty, you know, your bottom bitch, you know. I hope you had the, you know, the love and got some gifts going, you know, had some fun. But look, chat, hey, get in here, hit the fucking like button, hit the fucking subscribe button, because I got a couple topics to go through tonight, bro. I just wanted to get on a late night stream, just see how it goes, man. Just see how everybody spent their fucking day. I kind of just chilled out, bro. I woke up late as hell, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. I just kind of went out for my homie's birthday on Friday night, so I just kind of ended up being out a little bit late, and I just wanted to sleep in fucking, you know, Saturday morning. And it was raining. I can't, bro. Dallas all day today was raining, so it was kind of one of those like romantic days, but it was like, you know, kind of not sad, but kind of like an indoor kind of vibe, right? So I kind of just stayed in for most of the day. I didn't really do much. I went out for a little bit with my little boo thing, you know, just kind of wanted to see what it was like, but I didn't really get to, you know, do all the crazy Valentine's Day shenanigans that people do. Go out for dinner. All of a sudden you see like bitches that was posting ass pics last week, all of a sudden they in a 2-year relationship that I don't know how it came about, but clearly last week she was single, but all of a sudden this week she in a relationship. I don't know what happened, but I see a lot of people, you know, all of a sudden posting, oh, this is my Valentine's for real, this is my boo thing for real. Like you see all these people like, you know, post about their significant other that, you know, all year they single, but all of a sudden today they were just in a relationship. I don't know. That's just me peeping though. But yeah, it was a pretty rainy day, bro. Today was kind of like not sad. I can't even say it's a sad day because I like rainy, gloomy weather when it's like, you know, not happening every day. If it's like an everyday occurrence, you're like, what the fuck? Am I gonna be depressed all week? But if it's like a once in a while type vibe where it's like, you know, been hot all week, and you know Texas, it just be fucking 90 degrees all week, and all of a sudden you get one day it's like 65, you know? So like today was one of those days where all of a sudden it started raining, right? Like I mean, not all of a sudden, it was raining fucking 9 a.m. to like it's still raining now. It's 2 in the fucking morning. But it started early as fuck. The rain like did not stop for a couple hours, and then like around like 7 p.m. 7 okay, I'm sorry, but around 7 p.m. it started to kind of calm down, but it still rained all day. So it's just kind of interesting, you know, like I like that type of weather, but some people don't. I didn't go out downtown or nothing. I just kind of stayed a little local today, but you know, it's just one of those days when it's like the lover type vibe. You know, the lover boy was out, you know. But I didn't do much. I kind of just chilled out. I don't know. I feel like recently I've been kind of on my like grind. Like I just want to save some money, bro. I just want to like I just want to guap up. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm in my broke boy era. You know, I don't know. I've been spending too much money like last couple of years, bro. I feel like I always was buying bitches bags and I was just buying shit for people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still do. But like at that time I was just like doing the most, and I was like, bro, what do I have to show for it? Half these hoes not even in my life no more, right? So I just kind of like kick back now. I'm like kind of seeing how it goes. I don't want to buy like 4 side bitches, like 4 purses, right? You just rather get it for the one girl, and then the other ones we'll just see how it goes. And I'm not saying this for everybody. I'm just saying if you got a ride or die, do something special for her. But like, you know, if you just got some hillbilly hobos, like don't really like go out and fucking go crazy on that. But which I was doing for a couple years, bro. I just would waste money. I've been trying to be a little bit more mindful of spending money, bro. If I'm like crazy on buying people shit and then it's not equally, you know, shared, and it's not equally like understand, kind of sucks, you know, because you're like, bro, am I just gonna waste my money and nobody's gonna spend that money on me? So I don't know. This year I a little bit chilled out. I'm not really like going on dinner dates like I used to. I'm just kind of trying to like take it a little bit easy, bro. I do want to take my fucking allergy meds, because I will say I'm fucking this allergy season's fucked me up a little bit, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, man. Like this fucking rain, the fucking weather, it fucks me up, man. So I want to make sure I'm on a good, you know, not sneezing type vibe, bro. But look, tonight I just wanted to keep it a little simple. I'm gonna start off a little simple, bro. Esdeekid is everywhere. I've been listening to his music recently, so I kind of want to get into his like little documentary. So this is the insane story of Esdeekid.
Just a few months ago,
let's get started,
Esdeekid
bro.
was a broke nobody, grown up in the rough council estates of Liverpool. Well, now he's one of the most streamed rappers on the planet, touring the world, collaborating with Hollywood celebrities, and signing a record deal reportedly worth $30 million, the biggest ever for a UK artist. And most of you are probably asking, who even is Esdeekid? Where did he come from, and how did he take over the internet overnight? Esdeekid grew up in the city of Liverpool, part of Merseyside in the northwest of England. This is where he picked up his famously harsh accent known as Scouse, a distinctive dialect that comes from Liverpool's unique mix of Irish, Welsh and other cultural influences.
Why are you laughing for? What, Chris, why are you laughing for? Why are you laughing for? I'm being serious. I'm being serious. No, you see, I'm talking facts here. I don't do if, buts and maybes. I do absolutes. And, you know, like if your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle. But she doesn't, so she's not. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
What is that accent, bro? This shit is hard as hell. That is harsh accent, bro.
With SD himself claiming he's not British, he's a Scouser. Liverpool is also world famous for its music scene, being the birthplace of the Beatles, the best-selling band of all time, with over 600 million records sold worldwide. From what I can find, SD grew up in a rougher working class background, living in a council estate with a single mother, something he's openly talked about on his Twitter. He's called himself a council house rat and wrote, "Did orders from a council estate in Liverpool, all built off scraps, mate." For those who don't know, a council estate is basically like government housing in the UK. Large blocks of homes or flats built by the local council to provide affordable living for working class families. Growing up in that environment often comes with its challenges, and SD has been open about how that shaped him. In one of his biggest songs, Phantom, he said, "I'm a scumbag, I was raised in Liverpool slums, lad. I was broke, no joke, but I spun back." And the truth is, he's not exaggerating. Liverpool has some of the toughest crime stats in the country. The city records around 140 crimes per 1,000 people each year, way above the national average. And violent crime alone made up over 25,000 incidents in 2023. Certain inner city areas of Liverpool rank among the most deprived in England, with gang violence, stabbings and drug crime being constant problems.
That's the thing, everybody talks about banning guns, but like, dude, you're gonna get stabbings. Like, you're not gonna stop the bad guys from doing bad shit, right? Like, it's just, I just don't understand it, bro. Like, it kind of irritates me that people like, bro, I'm a big Second Amendment type guy. Get your glizzy and let it pop, you know?
Merseyside police have even reported spikes in shootings linked to organised crime groups, and the region's drug crime rate is over 300% higher than the national average. So when SD talks about being raised in Liverpool slums and coming up off scraps, he's reflecting a reality that a lot of kids in the city know too well, growing up surrounded by poverty, crime, and the pressure to find their way out. Or in his own words on Twitter, "Sometimes I hate where I'm from, but I'll always be proud. I love my city, I will never change." With him even suggesting in some tweets he may have trauma from his upbringing. Now, growing up, Esdeekid didn't have internet until around 2016-2017, so to consume music videos he would instead watch Channel 18, which during the 2010s was a Freeview channel often showing a lot of chart music videos, countdowns, and pop culture shows. And if he wasn't doing that, he would sometimes go to his grandma's house, who did have internet. He said,
bro, all the artists, like the greatest artists or the biggest pop stars, they always grew up with grandparents, bro. I'm telling you, that grandma love and that grandpa love, bro, like that grandbaby love, bro, it's different, bro. Grandparents treat you and love you a certain way that makes you like this artist. It's crazy, bro, how many people that like have that same story where their whatever comes from growing up with like grandparents. It's interesting. It's a crazy, I don't know if it's just because they didn't grow up with their parents and it's like that lack of support system, whatever it is. I feel like a lot of people that were raised by grandparents end up getting this like crazy work ethic.
That music videos were how he remembered the music, which is one of the reasons he loves making videos so much. That obsession with visuals later became a core part of his identity, every song needing an image attached to it, as nearly every one of his early SoundCloud releases had a music video alongside it, with SD early in his career even shooting a couple music videos for one of his friends, Rico Ace. Growing up, SD was very into the mid-2010s SoundCloud era, Lil Peep, Lil Pump, Black Cray, and so on, with him even claiming he put his own mum onto Blade, and calling himself a Scouse Boy Rari in his number 9 freestyle. Him and Rico Ace even recreated his picture of Lil Peep and Lil Tracy at the exact same location.
Arizona, iced out boys. Yo, show them the Arizona. Shawty, what's it? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Now, even though he loved the American underground rappers,
I feel like he blew up like in the last year or so, but he probably started making music like in 2020. I feel like so many people got stuck home and they found their passion for making music or making some kind of art form and speaking their voice after COVID, bro. But when you get stuck home and you're just in front of the screen for like however long, or in front of the phone for like a couple of hours a day, like more than a couple hours a day, you kind of like, I guess, have that passion to create, you know?
His icons were the Beatles, claiming they're the greatest to ever do it and wishing he got to meet John Lennon, one of the singers. And to finish off this segment about his childhood, it seemed like SD was an avid gamer, often talking about GTA, Black Ops, Far Cry, and CSGO in his tweets. Now onto his music career. On the 13th of May in 2024, SD will drop his first ever song on SoundCloud, a remix to Ray Shremmurd's Black Beatles, with a music video alongside it. It's quite different to how he sounds now, even though this was just a year ago, as he's rapping at a much slower and relaxed pace. Now, even though this is the first official drop as Esdeekid on his official SoundCloud, from what I found on Reddit, he's been dropping music since 2023 under the name Jewel Spines. From my own research, Jewel Spines is just a name he used to go by, basically like an alter ego. Jewel Spines used to rap in an American accent though, with him even mentioning it on his song Mist. Young Scouse Kid make it sound like I'm from Texas, but of course with SD blowing up because of his Scouse accent, he abandoned this. Some fans theorize that Jewel Spines isn't actually Esdeekid and it is actually his brother, as someone tried to say in these DMs. However, there is overwhelming evidence that this is in fact not true. It's also now very hard to try find any of Jewel Spines' older music or videos because anything fans post on platforms like YouTube or SoundCloud gets taken down almost immediately.
In my life no more, I went and disappeared into a
After SD started blowing up, it seems like him and his label tried to kill off Jewel Spines and hide any evidence of it. Interestingly, despite efforts to bury the Jewel Spines era, SD recently teased a possible revival, as 2 months ago in November he made a brand new Instagram post with the caption 1981 Jewel Spines Renaissance with this weird video, with him even teasing on his Instagram story Jewel Spines album November instrumental ambience, then posting on his Twitter instrumental ambient album, suggesting he hasn't fully abandoned that identity. Maybe he's gonna make a comeback. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen an artist drop music under a different name. From the top of my head, I know Comethazine became a jazz artist, and Young Lee,
what happened, bro? He was such a hard fucking like crazy rapper. Now he like is making jazz music. I guess, bro, when you're a creator, you just want to make music, and sometimes when you get under a label, you kind of get stuck in box, and you just want to create, right? So it's like, and that's probably what these people just are doing. Like, just like how Kai Cenat is now like doing like all this other stuff. Obviously, he probably saw some crazy shit on his, you know, girl's phone, and it was just like, I gotta change. You know?
The Jonathan or something like that, I can't remember exactly. One of my favorite songs that is actually on streaming platforms from Jewel Spines is Him Again with Rico Ace, a very fun and catchy song. And for those who are into the Esdeekid and Jewel Spines lore, on the song Altered, released in the December of 2023, we actually get to hear Jewel Spines and Esdeekid on the same track, as he alternates between his two styles, his awful attempt at rapping in an American accent, then his natural Scouse style. And Jewel Spines is actually where he got the name Esdeekid from. If you abbreviate Jewel Spines, you get DS, then flip that and you get SD, add kid to the end and you get Esdeekid. Over the following months, SD would continue to drop singles on SoundCloud, Apathy, Number 9 Freestyle and Gracias. Around this time, Esdeekid only had around 2,000 monthly listeners, so he was still an absolute nobody, but it didn't stop him from performing his first ever show on the 12th of July in 2024.
I think at the end of the day, bro, it's like you just have to believe in yourself, bro. Like,
and it would be actually
that's the one level of delusion that you have to support, bro, is like when you're in the early stages, bro, it's harder than you can ever imagine, bro. I mean, I'd see it in comedy now, bro. It's genuinely impossible right now to like really blow up as a comedian, because I feel like I'm gonna go down like a history like podcast kind of vibe with all the old school comedy, you know, legends and how they really came up. Like, I really want to do like a deep dive into like all the, I mean, obviously right now I'm running through like the whole fucking esoteric shit that I'm doing right now, but I feel like I like looking at historical stuff about like artists that they blew up. Like, what did they do? Like, what was so different about them compared to the people at their time that had them come up? Like, what is so different about Esdeekid compared to like all these other rappers like that have been blowing up since like 2018, 2019, but they never got to his level, bro? You know, Lil Baby fell off. You don't see the Da Baby as well. Like, you don't see all these like big rappers that used to be huge and they just kind of fell off. Like, what happens? Like, what is the cutoff? Like, how these people don't become like stars, right? Like, they already had that potential. Why do they not go into the stratosphere? Whereas somebody like Esdeekid, he like came off the like shits right into the stratosphere, right? I don't think Da Baby ever blew up as big as Esdeekid. I could be wrong, because Da Baby does have some big bangers. Same thing with Lil Baby, but like, they never stuck around, I feels like, as long as Esdeekid has. Well, he's not, I mean, he's still been in the game for like a year, but still, like, I don't know. I just feel like there are some people that have like the superpower, like star power, right? Like Travis Scott. He's fucking bigger than anything, right? You know, it's just some people just have that star power, I guess.
It's time that things started picking up for him. Palaces with Rico Ace, Tapped In with Sinner, and Ferragamo were the 3 tracks that made him start gaining a lot of traction around his name. Not a big name yet, but gave him the small following he needed to carry on growing. Another single he dropped around this time was Bally featuring Rico Ace, which was highlighted in Pitchfork's The Ones column, where Alfonso Pierre described it as one of the year's standout tracks and named Esdeekid one of the year's breakout stars. But it wouldn't be until 2025 that things really took off for him. His first drop of that year was on the 6th of February, LV Sandals with Rico Ace and Fake Mink. This song was a massive hit, gaining immediate buzz. From what I can find, this is the first song Esdeekid dropped with Wraith 9, and it is the first song Wraith 9 has ever produced that dropped publicly, at least from what I can find anyways. And I mean, the rest is history, right? In just 11 months, this song would garner almost 100 million streams, with Drake himself even bringing out Fake Mink out wireless to perform it in front of 50,000 people. From what I personally remember around this time, this song took Esdeekid to that 500k monthly listener mark, which he would sit at until the summer. Also, fun fact, Fake Mink and SD have actually been working since the summer of 2024, as during that time, Fake Mink would drop 2 collaborations with SD, Slurricane and Tropical Remix, with music videos for both of these. And it would also be around the start of 2025 that SD would sign to XV Records and Lizzie Records. From what I can find, Lizzie Records is owned by UK creative Sincere Lizzie, who is also the head of black music at Atlantic Records UK, with XV Records being owned by BAMS and I think Orcs Lua, with Lua being SD's current manager, who also runs the UK underground festival / concerts Orcs London. So I'm presuming XV is under Lizzie Records and they're under some joint venture or management deal, with other UK artists such as Fimi Guerrero, Sinner, Rico Ace and Len also being signed to them. Anyways, eventually on the 30th of June, SD will drop his debut project, Rebel. 11 tracks with
this shit like had 4 songs, like 4 raw, like 4 of these songs went so hard. Like that's what put him on the map for me. I was like, yo.
Features from Rico Ace, Fimi Guerrero and Fake Mink. The entire tape was produced executively by Wraith 9, whilst having additional help from CPPO and Numbers Beats. The majority of the project were the relentless rage sound SD is known for, from tracks such as Phantom, 4 Raws and LV Sandals, whilst also having elements of jerk and cloud rap on Caliman and Mist. At the time,
whatever though, the camera angles they were just hidden, bro, that shit is hot. I like that type of fucking filmography, bro. Like it's just like fast but like slow motion mixed with it. It's just like the camera angles are so hard, bro. I want a music video for that exact reason, bro. It just makes you look so fucking aura filled, you know?
Project barely gained any traction, and it wouldn't be until weeks later that it started taking off. Later in the summer, Esdeekid would perform at Cloud Festival in Poland.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go!
Where he would link up with YABOIII, who would go on to post himself listening to Esdeekid on his story, shouting him out at one of his concerts.
Okay.
And even his manager Lua putting out a tweet hinting at a collab. We know that YABOII's next album, A Dangerous Life, is dropping soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if SD is on it. It would then be right at the end of summer when
like,
Esdeekid
I want to make like Punjabi music mixed with like fucking rock hard like beats like this. That would be crazy, but I don't know how to really get into music. I love comedy for the end of time, but like I don't know, if something draws me to music, I can't help it. And I've seen that with a lot of artists, like, or a lot of like musicians and comedians. They work so well together, but it's like 2 different genres. But I feel like it's the same thing in the writing. It's just like a beat is the only thing added on, you know?
Properly start taking off. He was already starting to get a little bit of buzz on TikTok, but it was about to go to a whole different level. The hard-hitting beats, unique accent and catchy lines made him the perfect match for the TikTok algorithm, as it seemed like any video featuring his music was set to go viral. Whether it was white girls rapping along,
Damn,
or people
she
making
bad.
like football and movie edits, Esdeekid was absolutely everywhere. Slowly but surely he became one of the hottest artists in the world. Esdeekid currently holds the top spot for both the most streamed rap song and rap album daily on Spotify, Rebel with over 7.5 million streams daily, and Phantom itself having over 2 million streams daily. It's just absolutely absurd. Even when YABOIII was blowing up in 2021, he was not getting numbers like this. Eventually, 5 months after its release, Rebel debuted at the 131st position on the Billboard 200, selling 10,000 units that week, with it eventually peaking at the 60th spot a couple weeks later. With this newfound fame, it would be time for Esdeekid to start performing in front of massive crowds. We would firstly get the Rebel UK and EU tour, with him then announcing a USA and Australia leg 2. But good luck getting tickets, as there was online queues of over 12,000 people. He would also open up for Young Lean at the OVO Wembley Arena, a venue with a capacity of 12,000 people, and literally everyone knew the words. Now, if Esdeekid's career couldn't get any crazier than it already was, well, a lot of fans started theorizing that SD and the Hollywood actor Timothée Chalamet were the exact
this shit was
same
hilarious.
person. The theory didn't spread because it was believable, it spread because it was entertaining. The idea that a masked UK rapper and a Hollywood star was secretly the same person was too funny, too absurd, and
Bro,
too
that would be
online
the
to ignore.
craziest thing if he was just an actor. And bro, this would be like what's that guy that was a comedian? Man, what am I? The guy that was in. I always mention his thing. I always forget his fucking name. But if that was true, bro, that would break the internet, bro.
And the fans loved it. They got to work and started putting their photos side by side, comparing facial features and building timelines, genuinely trying to see if they're the same person. They even searched through Timothy's old movies, such as The King, and saw that he's had experience with British accents before.
I've only one to give, and it is the same one I'd give were we not standing on the brim of a battlefield. It is the same one I'd give were we to meet in the street by chance.
And Timothy himself added more fuel to the fire, as in an interview he avoided answering any questions regarding the conspiracies.
Esdeekid. Are you from, you know who
Oh,
Esdeekid
yes.
is, the rapper?
Your fans have lost their minds and they are saying that you are Esdeekid.
Is that true?
I got no comment on that.
Oh, come on.
No, I
What
mean,
did you, what?
got no comment.
You've got the same eyes.
I've got 2 words on that.
Go on. In your own time. 2 words.
2 words.
What's wrong with him? We've lost him. Someone, we need to reboot.
All will be revealed in due time.
That's not 2 words though.
Oh,
Why
wow.
are
The
you
word
doing
count's
this?
gone because of jet lag.
Well, as we all know, SD and Timothée Chalamet would go on to break the internet together, as on the 19th of December, the American actor would remix SD's 4 Raws.
Pour a pint that dirty. Keep it 10 about 30. Still sipping dirty. Still putting work in. Let's go. Got girl Birkin. You know I'm I'm jerking.
But even this didn't put the rumours to bed, as fans continued making jokes, such as featuring on your own song is nuts, and questioning why we haven't seen Timothy and Esdeekid with his mask off in the same room together. Not sure if you noticed, but they actually didn't show his eyes at all in the video. I still think it's the same person. It was a really smart play for both of them. Timothy stayed silent on the rumours as he knew he could use the moment to promote his new movie, Marty Supreme, whilst Esdeekid knew this could push his name right into the mainstream spotlight. Because this wasn't a co-sign from another rapper. This was one of the biggest actors on the planet, working with a UK artist who a couple months ago was a nobody. With the video on
I
Twitter,
just found out, bro, Timothée Chalamet is 30 years old. I thought he was like 20, bro. He does not look 30 years old, bro. I just recently found that out.
currently sitting at over 150 million views.
Oh
Absolute
my
insanity.
God.
And just a week after this insane moment, rumors started flying about that Esdeekid had signed a $30 million deal with Capitol Records. breaking the record for a UK artist. Now, as insane as that sounds, just remember Lil Pump signed for around $30 million like 10 years ago. So with inflation and a way more established scene, I can see why he got that $30 million. And with how record deals work, well, they're not actually giving him $30 million before the label makes double that themselves. If you didn't know, majority of record deals, they give you an upfront payment for each album or each year, whilst then taking pretty much every single penny from your streams, tour, merch, and so on. Again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm hating, but these record deals are pretty much just a big loan that you have to pay all back. But aside from that, you might be wondering,
see, I just always wondered, like, how does the artist like keep that level of control over their art when they're sure 30 million is a big number, but bro, if they're taking every penny, like they're making like definitely double that, like they always say, like they're gonna take all your money until you pay that shit back, if not double that, you know? It's just crazy.
Next for Esdeekid. Well, as much as he's up right now, he has to try and maintain it or even grow further, as we know he's about to set off on tour, which will be insane. Throughout this year, I'd expect him to drop 1 or 2 more singles. In October, he actually did drop a single, Century, which is already at over 60 million streams. Absolutely stupid numbers for a song that was released 3 months ago. In the summer, of course, he will probably be headlining at countless festivals, and I mean albums wise, surely he's planning to drop another tape or album this year. He's got so much hype, it would be silly not to. It just depends what he's thinking. Is he going to go down the YABOIII route and drop every other month? Because back in 2021, that dude dropped like 3 albums. Or is he going to try preserve his sound or evolve his sound? I personally doubt he'd do that, especially in the current TikTok era we live in. Like right now, you need to be hot, constantly have more hits coming out, constantly have that trendy TikTok song. But I wonder what artists he'll collab with this year. I definitely see him on YABOII's ADL very soon. That track will go nuts.
That's the one
Other
thing
than
I
that,
wish
I'm not sure who else he could work with. Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments below.
I wanna, hey, good video, bro. Hey, that's a dub of a video, bro.
So that's Esdeekid for you.
That's a dub of a video, bro. Go follow the boy, you know, go follow the boy Damikuwiski. But yeah, bro, like I feel like I that is the one thing I wish I could do, bro, is have an album that I could drop, bro. Like music is something I wish I could do, bro. Like it's just I used to, you know, sing back in the day, but I don't know. I love comedy, bro. I've been kind of taking a break from it. I can't even lie, chat. But dropping music is just such a long-term fun play. It's like they can always play your song. Like nobody's gonna watch a special like 60 times, right? Like that's why I want to do the history of comedy. Like how do these artists like really get into it, you know? But I always wanted to drop some music. Man, why can't I? I'm gonna think. Comedian name. That, what was it called? Delirious special. I can't. Eddie Murphy, bro. That's what Eddie Murphy. Okay. Eddie Murphy had Delirious, then he dropped a music album, then he became a big actor. So he hit the trifecta, bro. That is like my fucking goal, bro. Like that's what I would love to do, is like hit that trifecta, bro. Music, comedy, and then acting. Oh my god, that is the holy trinity of entertainment, bro. If I could hit that holy trinity, bro, I would be blessed, bro. Drop one album. Obviously, you want to drop more, but like just one album, bro. I just want one album, maybe like 1 or 2 specials, and then like a couple of movies that are like legendary, bro. That is like the fucking holy trinity of entertainment, bro. I want that holy trinity of entertainment, bro. Like I feel like that would give me like some sort of like, damn, I did it, bro. I did it. I'm Himothy, bro. That is I feel like a level of art that I want to get into, bro. It's like get to a level where I can do stand up, and actually at a good level, not just like, oh, he's all right, like, oh, that guy funny as fuck, you know, and then do music where it's like, oh shit, his song's popping, you know. and then get to like, oh, the movie's a classic. Like, I'm not saying like, bro, I want to be in the fucking like movie business for like 10, 15 years, or I want to drop a special every year or an album. Because bro, when Eddie Murphy dropped like Delirious, like people were like, oh shit, that's it, that's right, you know. And then he never like came back to, you know, comedy after a little while. After a little while, he got into music, and then he went into, you know, I mean, his music wasn't as big as his movies and comedy special, but still it was big enough to like be like, oh shit, that's crazy, you know. I just don't know if everybody can do that, because he was one of one, right? Like it's really hard that you could be like great at everything. You can be good at a few things, but you can't be great at all three, right? So that's the thing. I want to like, but the thing with movies and comedy is like they go hand in hand, right? When you do stand up, it can kind of build on top of what you already do. So if you're doing like stand up, right, you can act. I mean, if you can act, like, I mean, like, you can write comedy, you can act like a little bit by taking classes. You're not going to be fucking like the greatest actor, but you can be up there. But with music, you have to put so much effort and time in being alone and just kind of spending that time just by yourself, like writing that music. It's hard to like really get in that that mindset, like, unless you've been spending time in it. And the thing with stand up, you don't really blow up until years later. So you could blow up with one thing and then don't get anywhere with the comedy, because bro, comedy takes like 10 years of just absolute just getting humiliated. And I'm not gonna lie, bro, I've taken enough L's, so I've been humiliated half my life, you know. So it's like, comedy takes a while, man. Comedy takes a long ass whooping. And then with music, you just have to have good taste. So I don't know. I really just want to create. I think that's all it is. I think it's just like the inner thirst of creating. That's what I'm like really obsessed with. It's just bro, like when I was younger, right? Like when I was in high school, that's all I would do is just make YouTube videos all day. Make something that would just help me get my voice out there, get me creating is the best way. Like I like the art form of storytelling. I like the art form, and music is kind of storytelling, right? But you're just telling it with a fucking fire ass beat. With comedy, it's slower pace and it's more long term. I feel like with how TikTok is, like it's fast paced, so music works really well. But if you do cool fast paced skits, it does really well on TikTok, and then you can sell out show. So it's just like, I really want to get into the history of art in general. Like, I'm not even talking like art as in like painting or nothing. I just mean like history of art as being in how do the musicians become where they are, right? Like, how did Elvis Presley become Elvis Presley, right? How did the Beatles become Beatles? They weren't just Beatles like right off the bat. I mean, obviously there are some people that blow off like or blow up right up as they get into the game. But there are some people that have been trying it for years on end, right? Like they do 10, 15 years of stand-up. And then at their 20-year mark, they're like finally getting somewhere, right? That's what Joey Diaz always talks about. He's like, bro, he was in... Damn, I'm fucking... It's fucking 2:30 in the morning, so what can I say? I mean, chat, listen. Joey Diaz talks about this all the time. He's like, bro, he spent 20 years in a comedy before it really kicked off for him. He's like, bro, I've been doing this shit for 10, 15 years without a hitch, like nothing. And then around like 20 years is when he started like slowly getting his foot in. And that's the thing, bro. I feel like it's a long-term play. So in the meantime, I just want to create music. I just want to create stuff, but I don't know how to really make music. I did it once before with the homie, but I was ass as fuck, so I don't know. I like that, you know, getting lit and having fun. It just seems so exciting, bro. That rapper life, chef's kiss, bro. That rapper's life is like every bitch is on your dick, and you just like, yeah, like you just at the club, just like you just got clout out the ass. I'm not just chasing clout, but it's just like, just seems like a fun aesthetic, right? It's just a fun, exciting life. Like I don't know. I'm just chasing that, you know, excitement. I guess I just wanna have that main character energy. Okay, look, today, look. We're gonna get to agnostic allegory, right? This is the Truman Show. I don't know if y'all watched the Truman Show, chat, but look, the Truman Show was low key one of the best movies I've ever. Well, the Truman, like it was based on the actor from The Mask, Jim Carrey. And dude, it's about a fucking, movie based around, well, it's not even a movie, it's like a show that the guy is the main character, but he doesn't know he's in a TV show. But it's like, it's really creepy, but also like kind of tells you, like, it's low-key like a weird way of describing how streamers live. That's basically what it is. It's like the Truman Show was how the streamers' lives are. The Truman Show.
The Truman Show, released on June 5th, 1998, is an American satirical science fiction film directed by Peter Weir and written by Andrew Niccol. Starring Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank, the film became both a critical and commercial success, grossing $264 million worldwide and earning numerous award nominations, including 3 Academy Award nominations. On the surface, it's a clever satire about reality television and media manipulation.
I'm telling you, it was ahead of its time because how it described like streaming. Like low key, this is how I feel like streamers are nowadays, bro. Like this is crazy work,
A man discovers his entire life has been a television show broadcast 24/7 to a global audience, that everyone he knows is an actor, and that he lives inside a massive dome controlled by a godlike producer. But what most viewers miss, and what scholars like Randall Verardi have documented in academic journals, is that The Truman Show is one of the most precise Gnostic allegories ever put to film, a nearly perfect cinematic translation of ancient Christian texts discovered at Nag Hammadi that describe reality as a prison created by a false god, humanity as divine beings trapped in ignorance, and awakening as the dangerous process of seeing through the illusion and escaping toward true freedom. Every major element of the film, Christoph as the demiurge, Seahaven as the material world prison, Truman's glitches and suspicions as Gnosis beginning, Sylvia as Sophia calling from beyond the dome, and Truman's final crossing of water and ascent through the door as the soul's escape from archontic control, maps directly onto Gnostic cosmology with such precision that it's impossible to believe it's accidental. This isn't subtle symbolism open to interpretation. This is a deliberate, carefully constructed retelling of the Gnostic spiritual narrative for a modern audience. And once you understand the Gnostic framework, you can never watch the film the same way again. If you've never encountered the concept of the demiurge, it's central to Gnostic cosmology and essential to understanding this film. According to Gnostic texts like the Apocryphon of John and the Hypostasis of the Archons, the demiurge, sometimes called Yaldabaoth or Saklos, is a false god who created the material world. He's not the true transcendent god, but an ignorant, arrogant being who believes himself to be the only god and who fashioned the physical universe as a prison to trap divine sparks of consciousness within material bodies. The demiurge in Gnostic teaching is both powerful within his domain and fundamentally limited, unable to create true life or genuine freedom, only simulations and control systems that keep souls ignorant of their divine origin and potential for liberation.
See, that's the thing. I want to get into like the agnostic stuff like a lot more organizedly. Like right now I feel like I'm super disorganized. Some of the streams I've kind of like played one clip here, one clip there. So if y'all have watched me through other streams, you might be able to like catch it here and there. And I've been trying to get better at editing and posting this stuff time to time. But I want to like do like a big like iceberg series where it's like I'm doing it across a couple of streams where it makes sense. Because bro, it is a very, very like intensive topic to get into, and it is mind-bending, like because it does make sense. Like that's the fucking crazy part about some of these like conspiracy theory or occult knowledge stuff. Some of that shit makes sense. It's like weaved in reality and some fucking disbelief, and you're like, yo, what the fuck? You kind of start getting schizoed out a little bit, but like it's kind of cool to learn about some agnostic stuff, you know?
Christoph, played by Ed Harris, is a perfect cinematic representation of this figure. His name itself is a play on Christ plus of, suggesting a false Christ, a counterfeit deity. He's literally called the creator in the film. He designed Truman's entire world, controls the weather, orchestrates every aspect of Truman's existence, and speaks to Truman from the sky in the film's climactic scene, exactly as a god would. When Truman finally confronts him, Christoph says, "I am the creator of a television show." But within the dome, within Seahaven, He is the creator. He made this world. He controls everything in it. He determines what Truman can know and cannot know. And crucially, like the Gnostic demiurge, Christoph believes his creation is good, that he's giving Truman a perfect life, that the prison is actually paradise. There's no more truth out there than in my world, Christoph tells Truman. This is the demiurge's fundamental delusion, believing that the limited, created realm is all that exists, that there's nothing beyond it worth seeking. The Gnostic texts describe the demiurge declaring, "I am God, and there is no other," ignorant that the true, transcendent God exists beyond the material cosmos he created. Christoph makes the same claim about his constructed reality, insisting to Truman that the real world, outside, offers nothing better than Sea Haven's controlled perfection. And like the demiurge who becomes violently defensive when humans threaten to escape his control, Christoph literally tries to kill Truman with a manufactured storm when Truman attempts to sail beyond the dome's boundaries. The creator would rather destroy his creation than lose control over it. Sea Haven Island, the idyllic small town where Truman lives, is a cinematic representation of what Gnostics called the kenoma, the deficiency, the inferior material realm, the prison of flesh and matter. On the surface, Sea Haven appears perfect. Friendly neighbors, white picket fences, 1950s American dream aesthetics, constant sunshine, literally controlled by Christoph. But beneath the perfect surface, it's entirely artificial, constructed, fake. Every person is an actor. Every interaction is scripted. The sky itself is painted. The sun and moon are mechanical lights on tracks. Nothing is real. Nothing is authentic. Everything exists to keep Truman contained, comfortable, and ignorant. The Gnostic texts describe the material world in strikingly similar terms, as a simulacrum, an imitation of true reality, a cosmic stage set designed by the demiurge to keep divine souls trapped in ignorance while believing they're free, and that this limited existence is all there is. The Gospel of Philip states, "The world came about through a mistake, for he who created it wanted to create it imperishable and immortal. He fell short of attaining his desire." Sea Haven is exactly this, Christoph's attempt to create a perfect, imperishable world that falls short because it's fundamentally artificial, fundamentally limited, fundamentally a prison despite its pleasant appearance. The dome itself, visible from space in the film, is the material boundary, the barrier that marks the edge of the demiurge's domain. In Gnostic cosmology, the material world has boundaries.
Hey, chat, let's be honest, bro. Let's be real. If y'all found out we were in the Matrix, like this is like the real, I don't know if y'all seen the Matrix, the movie. I feel like that is the best movie you should ever watch. I feel like Matrix was a great trilogy. I mean, I think there's more than 3 now, but the 3 good ones were like the best ones. Like for me, that was my favorite trilogy of all time. Like fuck Star Wars, fuck every other movie. Is Matrix was the movie for me, bro. I fucking came to America, watched that movie when I first came here, and I'm like, oh shit, we're in the Matrix. This is fucking a documentary. This is not even a movie. This is a documentary, guys. It's the best fucking movie of all time. Like all 3 of them. I can't. The Reloaded, fucking Revolution. I don't know. All 3 of them. When they went the original one where he fucking gets the red pill, blue pill, then they go fight the aliens, and then when he gets like I guess possessed by the aliens or whatever, right? I loved all of the fucking Matrix movies. Amazing. Watch them, and then everything will make sense. And you know, low key might make you a little paranoid about how the fucking AI movement is happening and how, you know, we're getting into this virtual life. Weird, but fun. I like it.
Beyond which lie the higher realms of true spiritual reality, the pleroma. Souls trapped in matter must break through the firmament, the barrier separating the material from the spiritual, to escape back to their divine origin. Truman sailing to the edge of the dome and finding a physical wall with a door is a literal visualization of this Gnostic teaching. The material world has an Q edge, a boundary, and beyond it lies something the demiurge doesn't control. In Gnostic texts, the
what
demiurge...
I was trying to get to is like, would you choose to like get out of the Matrix, or would you? Because like in the Matrix, they even say, right, like if you choose what is it, the blue pill, right? If you take the blue pill, the steak will still taste the same. Everything still stays the same. You stay in this Matrix. But if you take the red pill, you wake up. Would you want to wake up or just say, fuck it, bro, I enjoy my life now. I'm gonna eat the steak. I'm all good.
Doesn't maintain control alone. He creates and employs the archons, rulers, authorities, beings who serve as prison guards, keeping souls trapped in ignorance and identification with the material world. The archons work by deception, by creating repetitive patterns, by keeping humans focused on base concerns, survival, desire, fear, status, that prevent spiritual awakening. They're described as having limited consciousness themselves, as being unable to truly understand spiritual reality, functioning more like programmed beings carrying out the demiurge's will to maintain imprisonment. Every actor in Sea Haven functions precisely as an archon. Meryl, Truman's wife, Laura Linney, isn't his actual partner, but an actress playing a role, maintaining the illusion, and when Truman begins questioning reality, she desperately tries to keep him asleep through manufactured domesticity and literally advertising products to him mid-conversation, keeping him focused on material consumption rather than existential questions. Marlon, his best friend, Noah Emmerich, feeds Truman lines written by Christoph designed to reassure him, to make him doubt his own perceptions, to keep him passive. When Truman asks Marlon if he's part of the setup, Marlon responds with Christoph's scripted words, "The last thing I'd ever do is lie to you." I mean, think about it, Truman. If everybody is in on it, I'd have to be in on it too. This is archontic gaslighting, making the victim doubt their own emerging awareness by presenting false sincerity. The archons in Gnostic teaching maintain control not through obvious force, but through subtle manipulation, through keeping the soul comfortable enough not to rebel, while distracted enough never to awaken. Sea Haven's actors do exactly this. They create a pleasant, predictable life for Truman, but one carefully designed to keep him from ever questioning, from ever attempting to leave, from ever discovering his true nature and the reality beyond the dome. The film's inciting incidents, the stage light labeled Sirius falling from the sky, the rain shower that only falls on Truman, the radio frequency accidentally picking up Christoph's crew coordinating Truman's movements, the glimpse of his supposedly dead father. These are what Gnostics would call the call, the moment when cracks appear in the material world's illusion and the soul begins to suspect something is wrong. In Gnostic texts, Gnosis...
I feel like this happens typically to people whenever they start taking psychedelics. I always say you have to be careful when you're taking psychedelics, right? Because it can cause cracks in your reality, and if you don't have a good grip on reality, it might shoot you into the stratosphere. And you don't want to be schizoed out on the fucking street. You know, make sure you have your bills paid. Make sure you have all your shit in order. Because if you don't and you start testing this, some of this shit start to make sense. And you're like, hey, fuck it. We're doing something big. You know, so whenever you start doing, you know, this level of deep dive, make sure you fucking have all your dots teed out. You know, all whatever the saying goes, right? Cross all your T's and dot all your I's, you know?
Knowledge doesn't come all at once. It begins with dissonance, with things not adding up, with the feeling that something about consensus reality is fundamentally off. The Gospel of Truth describes this as, having become drunk, has turned away from his drunkenness, and having returned to himself. Truman's growing awareness operates exactly this way. He's been drunk on the illusion of Sea Haven his entire life, and the glitches, errors in the simulation, moments when the constructed reality breaks down, begin his process of returning to himself, of remembering he's not actually Truman Burbank, insurance salesman, but something else entirely, someone living in a prison whose walls he's never noticed before. The film brilliantly shows how gnosis is resisted not just externally by the archons, but internally by the victim. Truman doesn't immediately believe what he's seeing. He tries to rationalize the glitches, to fit them back
He's
into
playing the same pictures. I hate that they always play the same pictures over the whole video. Sometimes, bro, I'm like, bro, just use AI or something, bro. Like
his normal worldview. This is what Gnostics call the spirit of ignorance, the internalized resistance to awakening that makes souls complicit in their own imprisonment. Even after overwhelming evidence, Truman hesitates, fears, considers that maybe Christoph is right and the outside world holds nothing for him. The battle isn't just against external control, it's against the conditioned parts of himself that have learned to love the cage. Sylvia, played by Natasha McElhone, is the film's representation of Sophia, the divine feminine wisdom, who in Gnostic mythology descends into matter to awaken trapped souls and guide them toward liberation. In the film, Sylvia is the only person in Truman's life who tries to tell him the truth, who attempts to break him out of the illusion. She's not part of Christoph's plan. She's an extra who goes off script, who risks everything to try to awaken Truman before she's forcibly removed from his life. After her removal, Sylvia becomes part of the Free Truman movement in the real world, working to end the show and liberate him. She represents the divine wisdom calling to the trapped soul from beyond the prison, reminding him of a reality and possibility he's forgotten. Her name itself, Sylvia, related to Silva, forest, wood, contrasts with the artificial, constructed space of Sea Haven, representing authentic nature versus manufactured simulation. In Gnostic texts, Sophia's role is to awaken the divine sparks trapped in matter by reminding them of their true origin. She calls to them across the boundary separating the pleroma from the material world. Sylvia functions identically. Even though she's removed from Sea Haven, her memory haunts Truman, pulls him, calls him toward the truth and toward escape. She's the presence from beyond the dome, reminding him there is something beyond, that the world Christoph controls isn't all that exists. Truman's escape attempt centers on overcoming his manufactured fear of water. Christoph deliberately created this phobia by staging Truman's father's death in a boating accident when Truman was a child. The trauma was designed to ensure Truman would never try to leave the island, that his own fear would serve as invisible bars, more effective than physical walls. In Gnostic terms, this is how the Archons maintain control, through fear, through trauma, through conditioned responses that make the prisoner collaborate in their own imprisonment. The necessity of crossing water...
Stockholm syndrome real as fuck in this agnostic, knowledge stuff. They want to keep you trapped if you're consenting to your own entrapment. It's like kind of fuck. It is you're stuck.
To escape has deep symbolic resonance in Gnostic and broader spiritual traditions. Water represents chaos, the unconscious, the boundary between states of being. To escape Sea Haven, to escape the material prison, Truman must face his deepest fear, must cross the boundary that terrifies him, must risk death. The boat's name is Santa Maria, the Holy Mother, suggesting rebirth imagery, to reach the other side. When Christoph unleashes the storm trying to kill him, Truman literally lashes himself to the mast and screams, "You're gonna have to kill me." This is the soul's defiant refusal to submit to the Demiurge's control, the moment when the fear of remaining imprisoned becomes greater than the fear of destruction in attempting escape. The film's climax finds Truman's boat striking the dome's painted wall. He touches the false sky, discovering it's physical, artificial. He finds stairs, a door marked exit. This is one of cinema's most perfect visual metaphors for the Gnostic teaching about escaping the Demiurge's realm.
He's playing the same pictures.
The material world has a literal edge. Beyond it lies something else. And there's a door, an exit, a way out for those brave enough to find it and walk through. Christoph makes his final appeal. "You can't leave, Truman. You belong here, with me. Talk to me. Say something." "Well, say something, goddammit. You're on television. You're live to the whole world." The Demiurge demanding acknowledgement, demanding the soul recognize his authority, begging the escaping consciousness to stay in his control. And Truman's response is perfect. "In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night." He acknowledges Christoph only to dismiss him, using his signature TV phrase one final time before stepping through the door into the unknown, into the real world, into liberation from the only reality he's ever known. What makes The Truman Show a genuine Gnostic allegory, rather than just a film with Gnostic themes, is the precision of the mapping. This isn't loose symbolism. This is point-by-point correspondence between film elements and Gnostic cosmology. Christoph equals Demiurge. Sea Haven equals Canoma/material prison. Actors equals Archons. Glitches equals Gnosis beginning. Sylvia equals Sophia. Water crossing equals confronting fear. Dome edge equals boundary of material realm. Door equals exit from Demiurge's domain. The film can be watched and enjoyed without knowing any of this, but once you understand the Gnostic framework, every scene gains additional depth. Every character interaction reveals the spiritual battle between imprisonment and liberation, between remaining comfortable in illusion and risking everything for truth. And here's what makes it relevant beyond cinema studies. The Gnostic reading suggests we're all Truman, that consensus reality itself might be a constructed prison we're born into and conditioned never to question, that the normal world might be as artificial and controlled as Sea Haven, and that awakening to this requires seeing glitches in the Matrix, listening to voices calling from beyond the system, confronting our conditioned fears, and being willing to walk through doors whose other side we can't see. The film works as allegory because it activates something people recognize, the feeling that something about modern life is fundamentally wrong, that we're trapped in systems we didn't choose and can't...
I think we all saw that after COVID, bro. All the same people that was talking about your body, your choice, were wanting you to get the COVID vaccine right off the bat, right off. The same people that got crystals in their fucking household that are always believing in all these fucking hocus pocus shit are the same people that are always talking about, oh, science is real. Same bitch that got fucking crystals and praying to crystals every day. Crystals protect me. It's the same bitch talking about fucking science is real. Bitch, if you don't take your stupid ass back to class.
See clearly that liberation would require leaving behind everything familiar and comfortable to pursue a truth we can't yet fully grasp. Scholars have noted the parallel to Plato's Cave. The 2022 Cannes Film Festival website explicitly described the film as a modern reflection of Plato's Cave, which itself is a proto-Gnostic allegory about prisoners mistaking shadows for reality. But the Truman Show goes further than Plato by showing the creator of the cave, by naming him Christoph, false Christ, by having him speak from the sky claiming to offer protection and love while actually maintaining a prison, and by showing the prisoner not just escaping, but recognizing and rejecting the false god's final manipulative appeal. Whether writer Andrew Niccol and director Peter Weir consciously intended all these Gnostic parallels, or whether they emerged from the archetypal depths of the story itself, the result is the same. A film that translates ancient spiritual wisdom into modern cinematic language, making Gnostic teachings about the Demiurge, Archons, Sophia, and the soul's escape from material imprisonment accessible to millions who would never read the Nag Hammadi texts, but who recognize Truman's journey as somehow reflecting their own. That's what makes it not just good cinema, but genuine allegory.
Hey, I'll say W video, but L fucking visuals, bro. W video, but L fucking visuals. It's the same visuals I've seen the whole time. But look, I feel like a lot of people need to understand that it is a lot of truth in the agnostic stuff, bro. Like, there's something weird going on, bro. Like, after COVID, I feel like a lot of people realize, like, there's something weird going on with our world, bro. Like, there's some things that you can't explain. You know, there's some things you just cannot explain with how the world moves and how the world functions. People that are, you know, doing absolutely wrong, just complete degenerate behavior, just absolute evil, are people at the top running the government, running the fucking country. Epstein files set it out to you. They're perfectly fine. But you smoke a little bit of za, you get a little too high, they might put you away for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you got a pound of weed, let's go ahead and get you packed up and packed off. But fuck it, you go on a pedophile island, you fine, it's all good. That's part of the plan. Like, what are you talking about? So I think after COVID, bro, a lot of people like stop believing in this weird shenanigan like system we have going on, you know? So we're going to keep it pushing tonight. We're going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep it going for the fucking zone. Cause look, Chad, I told y'all, I got a little some for y'all, bro. Like, I'm trying to get somewhere with this. I hope y'all understand. Like, I'm awakening my, you know, my little loyal following, you know, my little loyal following. But the next little video I got is a little different. It's a little different. It's how Israel I guess is part of the biblical prophecy, right? This is a little longer video, but you know, watch Israel closely, dear Christians. Prophecy explained how it falls. I haven't watched this, but like I said, it's supposed to be explaining the prophecy and how the prophecy in the Christian Bible plays Israel part. I don't know how to explain it properly, but let's just get into it.
Country in the world at the center of as much conflict, controversy, and prophecy as the nation of Israel. And sooner or later, you, yes you, will have to decide where you sit on the issue of modern Israel. Is God fighting for the modern state of Israel, or has he left them to fight instead for the modern church? Should Christians support the nation of Israel today, or should we view them as enemies, forgotten by God? Are the Jews to us wayward brothers or cursed enemies? Because if God is really for Israel while we're against them, he may very well be against you and I as well. And if God happens to be against Israel, what is to come for the conflict-ridden nation in the Middle East? This is Greg, a Jewish man from Israel, and he's still waiting for his Messiah. In other words, he doesn't believe that Jesus was the one. But there's something worrying Greg. He's been taught something called replacement theology. This is the idea that the title of God's chosen people has been taken from the Jews and given to the church. In other words, the promises of Scripture have been transferred from the Jews to the Christians, and that Israel is no longer relevant when it comes to God's continuing story of salvation to the world, meaning this country in the Middle East is simply not as significant as it once was. Perhaps even an imposter. Naturally, this terrifies Greg, because his greatest fear is that his people would be rejected, forgotten by Yahweh himself. So as I endeavored to find an answer for Greg, I came across two camps on this issue. The first camp we're going to call the supers. They believe the church has replaced Israel and will inherit the promises of God recorded in the Bible in their place. The second camp we're going to call the dispens. This isn't a perfect name for them because they do believe other things, but it's the best we've got, so we're going to run with it for this video. They believe that the first covenant made with God's people is irrevocable, and therefore Israel will inherit the promises of God recorded in the Bible. So in order to help Greg with his fear of being forgotten, let's explore supersessionism. These guys have been doing their thing from the time of the apostles and state that the church has superseded or replaced Israel in the prophetic promises and identity.
I don't think the modern church or modern religions are what they used to be, bro. They just seem like they're money hungry, chat. Am I wrong? Like, all these people are like, if you donate to me, you have a place in heaven. Like, it just seems, even with churches, you know?
Some of the oldest and highly respected church fathers formed the bedrock of this ancient camp. Irenaeus, Justin Martyr, Tertullian, and Augustine being a few titans among this army. Now, these legendary church fathers had some hot takes on Israel. So while I tell you about Manta Sleep, today's sponsor, so you get to sleep, how did Israel fall in the first place? When we read the New Testament, Israel is under Roman rule, but they're far from extinct. They observe their feasts, make their sacrifices, and even have an enormous functional temple in the middle of Jerusalem. But in one of the most famous chapters in Matthew, Jesus, while pacing the city of Jerusalem, made this eerie declaration. "Do you see all these things?" he asked. "Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." 40 years after Jesus said these words, during the Jewish event known as Passover, Jews from all over the world had gathered in Jerusalem to celebrate. A number of these Jews had suffered enough under the Romans and initiated a revolt. When the Romans saw the revolt, they sent Titus, a Roman general, to deal with these mutineers. Over a brief few months, Titus and his army reduced Jerusalem to rubble. the temple was utterly destroyed and 1.1 million Jews were massacred. Soon after this tragedy, the Jewish nation declined into complete obscurity. The promise Jesus made about Jerusalem had come to pass. But when the Jewish nation was declining rapidly, Christianity was experiencing a rapid ascension. Spurred on by the words of Jesus, the gospel had been spread far and wide, and the followers of Jesus were determined to reach every tongue, tribe, and nation. Although the kingdom of Israel had fallen, the kingdom of God was on the rise, and other promises were being fulfilled as well. Salvation had come to the Gentiles. People that for eons had been excluded from God's people were now embraced as part of them. A new covenant had been established with all of mankind, and a new people had been chosen by God. This was the new Israel, and the Bible firmly supports this idea. In Ephesians, Paul writes about Gentile believers, saying that they were once aliens and foreigners, cut off from Israel and excluded from the covenant promises. These new Gentile believers were brought near by the blood of Christ. No longer would there be Jew or Gentile, but we would be one humanity following God in his chosen church. In fact, promises people thought were made to Israel may have instead been made to the church. In the book of Exodus, God instructed Moses to tell the Israelites that if they obeyed the covenant, God would make them a kingdom of priests. Well, that priesthood is fulfilled in the church, as Peter tells us that the church is a chosen race, a royal priesthood, God's treasured possession. Once we were not God's people, and now we are set apart by him. But there's other Old Testament prophecies that also seem to be fulfilled in the church. When God promised Abraham that he would have many descendants and that all the nations of earth would be blessed through him, that promise was fulfilled through the church. The book of Galatians says as much. If we are Christ's, we are Abraham's offspring and heirs according to the promise. Abraham's offspring doesn't refer to those descended by blood from Abraham, but to those who, like Abraham, shared in his faith and believed in the promises that God had made. But this isn't just Paul speaking off the cuff. The very idea that Israel would be replaced seems to have been taught by Jesus himself. In one of his harshest parables, Jesus tells a story about a vineyard whose master was away. He sent his servants one after the other to collect the produce from the vineyard from the tenants, produce that was rightfully the master's. Each and every time, the servants got beaten, spat upon, and treated with a total lack of respect. What's the next move the master should make? He decides that since his servants haven't been treated well, he'll send his son, a man who the workers ought to respect and even revere. But that didn't go down well either. Instead of respecting the heir, they plotted to kill the son and steal the vineyard for themselves. It's obvious reading it that Jesus was talking about the religious leaders of Israel, and that he was the son sent by God to instruct and lead them. But it's what he says afterwards that is of particular note, a reality that would have shocked everyone present, including the disciples. Therefore I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people producing its fruits. So perhaps the kingdom of God has been taken from the modern state of Israel and given to the church. But if that's the case, what are all these prophecies being fulfilled in modern Israel? To answer that, we need to keep exploring scripture. This story immediately brings to mind a passage in Romans, a key passage for this camp. Paul argues that not all who are descended from Israel are Israel. He goes on to build the case in Romans 10 that Israel has rejected Jesus. He highlights how the prophet Isaiah foresaw this reality, saying that the Gentiles will accept a message that Israel would reject. So what will happen to this rebellious Israel? This message of Paul leads into Romans 11, where we're told that the people of Israel are like branches on an olive tree. But this tree has just undergone a radical transformation. Since the natural branches aren't budding, the gardener, who is God by the way, has cut these branches off and grafted new wild branches in. The wild branches are the Gentiles, and the message is obvious. Israel has been cut out so that we Gentiles can be grafted in. According to this image, it seems apparent Israel has been replaced. And unlike Israel, who time and time again thought they were uniquely special, it is God that sustains us Gentiles, not our specialness that sustains him. We see this was contentious in the early church. Naturally, I wouldn't be too happy about potentially being replaced. In Acts 15, Jewish members of the church were convincing Gentiles that they had to be circumcised and follow the Mosaic law to be saved, basically telling them they had to become Jews in order to become Christians. The disciples had to get a committee of believers, including Paul and Barnabas, to combat this added requirement. To do this, they quote a verse that might not make too much sense, at least if we're thinking of a physical Israel. James argues that Amos foresaw the Gentiles being included in the rebuilding of David's tent, and he obviously didn't mean a physical location. Just like the early church, the debate about how Jewish one had to be was a hot-button issue. You have to follow this command and that command, you have to have this outward sign and that outward sign. But Paul blows this out of the water and further spiritualizes what it means to be a Jew in Romans 2. This is where the supers argument becomes very compelling to me. A Jew is one who is circumcised spiritually, not physically. You are Jewish on the inside, not the outside. That circumcision of the heart matters more than circumcision of the body, and that those who worship by the Spirit are those who are truly circumcised. That when it comes to being part of Christ, there is no distinction between Jew or Gentile. One of the most famous verses in the Bible, or at least it should be, makes this abundantly clear. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. If you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise. Perhaps the greatest weapon in the super's arsenal comes from the book of Hebrews. The whole book explains how Old Testament rituals had symbolic significance, foreshadowing the arrival and death of Jesus Christ. But it outlines something even more incredible, a universal reality that strongly supports the super's case. When the new covenant was ushered in, the old one was made obsolete. I don't think y'all realize this, but these verses suggest something absolutely radical. If Jews aren't determined by bloodline or outward signs, but spiritual disposition, then when God makes promises to Israel, is he talking about the physical Israel or the spiritual Israel? It should come at no surprise that the Old Testament is full of prophecies about Israel. Understanding that these promises may be about the church instead of the nation changes our view of Scripture entirely. Take the book of Hosea, for example. In chapter 1, God promises that the Israelites would be like the sand on the seashore, and that they shall be called the children of the living God. In the very next chapter, the Lord addresses Israel as his adulterous wife, but it's the very end of the chapter that we need to pay close attention to. He promises Israel that he will plant himself in the land, and that those who are not his people shall be called his people. I am paraphrasing here a little, but it seems obvious that God is talking about a rebellious Israel here, and that one day he's going to slap some sense into them and turn them back to him. But Paul doesn't seem to interpret it this way. Paul, talking about those elect from salvation, quotes this very passage from Hosea. He says this prophecy about Israel is actually about God calling the Jews and Gentiles into his mercy. It applies to the church, not the nation of Israel. Paul continues this trend of interpretation in 2 Corinthians. When warning the Corinthians against idolatry, Paul reminds them that God had promised to make his home among them. The verse he quotes is from Leviticus, where God is promising the Israelites that if they don't engage in idol worship, he will dwell among them. So the temple of the living God isn't in the nation of Israel, as Leviticus seems to suggest, but is actually in the spiritual Israel, the hearts of the church. But this is where I think the strongest case for the supers lies, and it comes from one of my favorite books in the whole Bible. The book of Hebrews, the author says that God promised to write his law on the hearts of the people of Judah and Israel. The author of Hebrews says this was fulfilled in Jesus, and that the new covenant Jesus established has better promises. Promises that apply to the spiritual Israel, not the national one. But there's something even more amazing awaiting us a few chapters later in the book of Hebrews. We're told that we, that is, the church, has come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God, to the heavenly Jerusalem. Pretty compelling proof, perhaps, that the promises of God to Israel should be understood spiritually, not physically. Can you see how compelling this argument seems? Perhaps Israel isn't due
You
any
need to be
special-
awakened, bro. That's what they're trying to get you, bro. That's why I feel like mixing the agnostic Bible and mixing all the occult knowledge together with this, it's kind of interesting. You know, you're mixing occult with the like mainstream stuff. It's kind of crazy. Like schizophrenia 101.
consideration when it comes to the end times. As Philippians says, "For it is we who are the circumcision, we who serve God by his Spirit, who boast in Christ Jesus and who put no confidence in the flesh." And as it says in Corinthians, every single promise of God has found its yes or its fulfillment in Jesus. But that's only the first camp in this debate. And though compelling, the next group might change how you understand Israel altogether. Now, things aren't looking great for Greg at the moment. Some of you might suggest Greg simply repent and join us Christians in the salvation of Jesus. But trust me, I've tried to help this man, but bro is just too stubborn. At least for stubborn old Greg, there may be some hope. The Dispen's case that God still has a plan for the Jewish people is based on 4 main principles. Number 1 is that the promises God made about giving the land of Israel to Israel were eternal and not based on their performance. And to track down these promises of God, we must go to the Old Testament, to a time before Israel even exists, and to the man the Jewish people call their father. Abraham, the father of faith, was called to the land of Canaan at 80 years old. During this miraculous calling, God makes a promise, telling Abraham, who was called Abram at the time, that he will give this land to his offspring. You might notice that God doesn't seem to make a deal with Abram. He just promises that God will give him the land, almost like a gift.
And this is what they're fighting about to this day, I believe, right?
And before you say it, this promise does not seem to be limited by time. After all, when someone says something is everlasting, we assume they mean forever. This is the basis of our first principle. The promises God makes time and time again to Abraham have nothing to do with Abraham's performance. This blows my mind. But who knows? Maybe I'm mistaken. After all, Abraham had to obey and go to the land of Israel for these promises to be fulfilled. Luckily for you though, you don't just have to take my word for it, since Paul seems to argue the same thing. In Romans 9-11, Paul addresses the state of Israel in the New Testament, explaining to the Gentile church where the Jewish people land in regards to salvation. He seems pretty harsh at first, as he should be, since they did, by and large, reject Jesus. But right at the start of Romans 11, Paul says a profound statement that may surprise us, considering what he's just said. "I say then, has God cast away his people? Certainly not. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin." Though he's honest about Israel's current fallen state, he seems to preach that God still has a plan for them. For the sake of the patriarchs, they are loved on their account, and that God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. But principle 2 is where things start to get interesting, by introducing an even crazier concept. In Romans 11, Paul talks about an olive tree cultivated by God to produce, well, olives. Understanding exactly what Paul is talking about here can be tricky, and we did speak about this before, but there's another part to the Bible that helps us make sense of this. Jesus says he is the true vine and that God is the gardener, that we are told to abide in Jesus and that God cuts off every branch from him that doesn't bear fruit. If we apply this imagery to Romans 11, the passage makes a lot more sense. Israel was supposed to abide in Jesus, the fulfillment of the law and prophets, but because they did not, God the Father cut them off from the vine. But like any good gardener, he's chosen to cut off the branches that haven't been fruitful and to graft in branches that will be. These branches are the Gentiles, and Paul seems to indicate we've replaced the natural, unfruitful branches representing Israel. But the Dispens are not so sure that this is the case. Look at what he says just a few verses earlier. Again, I ask, did they stumble so as to fall beyond recovery? Not at all. Rather, because of their transgression, salvation has come to the Gentiles to make Israel envious. He seems to imply that although the Gentiles have been grafted into the kingdom of God, they have by no means replaced Israel. But we have been grafted in for a unique purpose. Let me ask you something. How do you feel when someone else receives something that you want? Let's say you're hoping for a house. You believe God has promised you one, but you're not sure how you're going to receive it. Suddenly, a man comes along and offers you exactly what you've been wanting, a house, saying that if you believe in him and surrender your assets to his management, you'll receive what you've been promised. Naturally, you're skeptical, and you say no, just to be safe. God wouldn't do it that way. So you send the man on his way. Years later, you move to a new neighborhood, but you happen to still be renting. Your neighbors, who are folks from out of town, have a wonderful house. It's got a brand new fence, a pool in the back, and a dedicated VR Bible living room. You ask them one day how on earth they received such a house, and they explain that a man gave it to them. They describe the very same man that offered you a house all those years ago. Suddenly, you're consumed with regret. If only I had followed up with this man's offer. But the good news is that your neighbors say that the man is still willing to offer the same deal. They have his number, and if you just give him a call, he can get you a house as well. Now, do not mistake this story for the prosperity gospel, okay? I can't stand that lie from hell.
That's a great way to explain it,
this would make you feel? Do you think seeing someone else receiving something so good may motivate you to do what they did and place your trust in that man? Paul says that this is exactly why God chose to graft the Gentiles into himself. It's a mysterious plan that Paul fills us in on, that when the full number of Gentiles has come in, Israel will be saved. But low-key, that's point number 4, so I'm jumping a little ahead of myself. What wowed my brain out of its nostrils, though, was the revelation that this plan has been foreshadowed in the Old Testament. Which leads us onto principle 3, that Israel must exist for Jesus to return. Now, the Old Testament is full of prophecies about Jesus coming, but there's one in Isaiah that kind of stumped me. Jesus is described like a warrior with a cloak, a breastplate, and a crown. And it says he's coming to judge, to repay his enemies with wrath. To me, this sounds like a prophecy not of Christ's first coming, but of his second coming. Verse 20 is where things start to get interesting.
Bro, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not even commenting that much just because how much I'm learning from this. The way they're explaining it with animations as well as using good analogies, A1 video.
Because if this truly is a second coming prophecy, this location might be worth paying attention to. It says that a Redeemer will come to Zion. This is a reference to the site of King David's ancient fortress. So this passage suggests that Jesus will return to Zion at some stage during his second coming. But it gets even crazier when we turn back a little and look a bit deeper. Let's flip back to Isaiah 11, a prophecy about the coming Messiah. It contains promises about Jesus striking the earth with a rod from his mouth and slaying the wicked with his breath. A couple of verses later, we're told that the wolf will live with the lamb, a promise of future peace being brought to the world. And towards the end of the chapter, God talks about gathering the surviving remnant of his people from all over the world. This prophecy seems super clear that it's referring to the physical blood Israel and not the spiritual Israel. It turns out that Isaiah is prophesying events that we're told more about later on in Scripture, events that are in the most violent and scariest book in all of the Bible. I am of course talking about Revelation, a bloody book about Christ's second coming. To see how it connects with Isaiah 11, check out what it says in Revelation 19. Stick with me because this is going to blow your mind. When Jesus returns to destroy the beast, he's described as having a sharp sword coming out of his mouth and ruling the nations with an iron scepter. So this prophecy about Israel hasn't happened yet. But maybe that can be interpreted spiritually, right? Jesus will literally come back, but perhaps the remnant of his people are Christians, not natural ethnic Jews. But I don't think that holds up to scrutiny, especially when we go to the prophet Jeremiah.
But if you like mix Jews and Christians together, don't you get Muslims? Isn't that like kind of like right in the middle? Jews are super on this side, Christians are super on this side, Muslims are right in the middle, bro.
Who prophesies about the same event. It seems clear that the remnants are actually ethnic Israelites. Jeremiah 30 is a prophecy about God gathering Israel from all over the world. The connection to Isaiah is obvious here. He points out that they're in captivity, which is an interesting detail and causes some to think that this has to do with God calling Israel back from the Babylonian exile. But there are large parts of this chapter that don't make sense from that Babylonian perspective. Take this part for instance. God says he will break the yoke off their necks and instead turn them to the Lord their God, that David their king will rise up and rule over them, that he will completely destroy the nations among which they were scattered, and although he will spare Israel itself from destruction, he will discipline it in due measure. The exact identity of this David figure is made more clear in a later verse. It says that in time their leader will be one of their own. Now hold up. If this prophecy is about the church, what on earth does this part mean? I can only think that this king, like David, is in fact Jesus Christ himself, who is ethnically a Jew. This sounds like another second coming prophecy in which Christ will come and gather the Jews under himself after disciplining them first. Especially when we consider the very next chapter in Jeremiah 31. God promises that after he restores Israel, they will always be a nation as long as the sun shines by day and the moon by night. Last time I checked, that was still happening, and God has kept his promise up until today. There are many other passages that seem to line up with this idea. In Ezekiel 36, God promises to give Israel a new heart and restore to them the land he gave their ancestors, despite their disobedience and rebellion. In Amos 9, God says the day is coming that he will plant Israel in their own land, never to be uprooted again. These passages may have been fulfilled already in the Reformation of the State of Israel in 1948. In Zechariah 14, God prophesies about Jerusalem being ransacked and pillaged. But the Lord shall come and fight for them from the Mount of Olives. This is a day known only to the Lord, and that on that day the Lord shall be king over all the earth. The parallels in Zechariah 14 to Revelation threw me right off my chair. Just like in Revelation, armies gather against Israel. Just like in Revelation, the Lord comes to lay the smackdown. Just like in Revelation, it will be a unique day full of unique light shining in the night. Living waters shall flow from Jerusalem, symbolizing the Spirit going forth. Christ shall reign as King over all the earth. And if that wasn't enough, as Jesus was ascending into heaven, his drooling disciples were told by angels that Jesus will come down to earth in the same way he went up to heaven. Do you know where that ascension took place? It was on the Mount of Olives, just like Zechariah prophesied. This leads us to our fourth and final principle, that all Israel will be saved. It seems clear reading these verses in context that the details around Jesus' second coming are intrinsically tied to the nation and locations of Israel. But what's the purpose of all this? What's God's ultimate plan when it comes to Israel? There are two books in the Bible that answer this question succinctly and reveal how ultimately awesome our God truly is. In Romans 11 again, Paul points out something remarkable, a profound mystery that changed the way I viewed not only Jesus' return, but all of reality as I know it. He says that as far as the gospel is concerned, the Jewish people are our enemies, but as far as election is concerned, they are beloved. For God's gifts are irrevocable. They've experienced a hardening in their heart until the full number of us Gentile believers have come in. And in that way, all Israel will be saved, that they will receive mercy as a result of the mercy God shows us. It should be obvious now that Paul is referencing Isaiah 59, a chapter about Israel's redemption, a chapter that seems to favor heavily an interpretation of that being ethnic Israel. But there is an even earlier part to the Bible that I think establishes firmly that the physical location of Israel is vital to God's plan of bringing himself to dwell amongst men on earth. Isaiah chapter 2 makes me quite emotional. It has these beautiful promises about God bringing peace to the earth. This is what Isaiah...
It's like 3:30 in the morning and I'm like dozing
son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many peoples will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways so that we may walk in his paths. The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. This seems strongly to be about Christ's return. And as we've already explored, Revelation talks about Christ returning in the geographical location that is Jerusalem. Not only that, but we have this crazy cool image of the heavenly Jerusalem descending on the earthly one, a picture of God redeeming the Jewish nation. So it appears that both camps have strong arguments for and against the idea of Israel in God's ultimate plan. But where do I sit on the issue? So where does this leave us Christians? Should we support Israel since God is still on their side, or should we condemn them, seeing as they have rejected our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? I dare to say that neither option is the Christian response. The Bible is clear that salvation comes through
You gotta hit him with the "it is what it is"
Jesus Christ. But it's also clear that Jesus has a plan to turn the Jewish people towards him. The Bible is clear that Israel will be judged for its sin, as it was time and time again through the Old Testament. But it's also clear that a remnant of them will be saved. In other words, pray for Israel. Pray that they will return to Jesus as the whole world should. Know that the sovereign Lord is in control, and if the nation of Israel is sinning, he will deal with it in due course. Preach the gospel to Jew and Gentile. And if you haven't received Jesus yourself, do it today. He could be coming back anytime. But when he does, know that it will be in Jerusalem as the savior to all those who follow him and a judge to all those who reject him. If you like this video, we really think you'll like it.
W video. Look, bro, that shit was very knowledgeable. I was fucking yawning halfway through because it's fucking 3:30 in the morning and I'm over here trying to like really learn this knowledge. But I hope y'all learned something tonight. I hope y'all got some knowledge out of that, because it is kind of interesting how geopolitics right now is based on a lot of our biblical scholars, based upon a lot of our historical knowledge of the Bible, historical knowledge of the Testament, you know. But like I said, being Muslim, you know, I'm like, you know, right in the middle of it all. You know, it's like, you know, Jews are on one side and then, you know, Christians are on completely this side, you know, and then Muslims are right in the center. So I think, bro, all religions are the same. They all kind of speak the same truth. I think at the end of the day, bro, as long as you're nice and you're a kind person, you know, you'll get into heaven. You know, that's all I can say. I hope I kind of get this historical podcast vibe a little bit more put together, because I'm trying to get a little bit more organized with it. I'm still, you know, learning how to organize it a little bit better, but I hope I can do a little bit better with the agnostic knowledge we're learning. Hey, until next time, I hope y'all had a good one. I hope y'all like the vibes. Hey, stay blessed. And hey, find some love, bruh.